We believe that whales and dolphins have rights. The right to swim where boats don't injure them. The right to swim wild, in clean, natural, noise-free waters. The right to swim free, not to be trapped in fishing nets. The right to be free, not held captive for human entertainment. The right to live, not to be hunted. The right to exist as nature intends, not as humans decide. If you believe in these rights, then you would be right to join us.
Two videos today.
Whaling drove North Atlantic right whales to the brink of extinction.
Right now, the species can survive, but we're not letting them.
There's less than 500 left, and the loss of one animal literally could jeopardize the population.
72% of their known mortality comes from vessel strikes and fishing gear. And we believe that's because they're so very urban. They live so close to shore.
They also migrate up and down the coast, so they're
Botox.
crossing busy shipping lanes on a routine basis.
The ship strike rule is just asking when right whales are in specific habitats that ships over 20 meters, over 65 feet, slow down to 10 knots.
Vessels can kill whales with massive lacerations or incisions from the propeller, or you can hit them with the front of the ship.
The ship strike rule is working. If we continue and we expand the rule, we really will give North Atlantic right whales a fighting chance for survival.
There's about 3 lines that are coming right out of the mouth there.
In fishing gear entanglement cases, when you've got rope in the mouth, you're destroying their ability to feed efficiently. The average time to death is around 6 months.
We're right on our fluke. Okay, watch out now.
To fully protect them, we have to protect where they live too. The survival of the North Atlantic right whale depends on expanding the critical habitat to include more of its range.
The North Atlantic right whale needs your help to survive. Go to whales.org, join us, and sign our petitions to secure more critical habitat, to reduce deadly entanglements, and to keep the ship strike rule in place. Or you can make a donation to support our work at whales.org.
All right, folks, what a start. Oh my gosh. Spoon with 50. Hi. I love dolphins. Favorite aquatic animal. Peepo cheer. Go dolphins. Go Peepo cheer. Spoon, thank you for the 50 tripod with 100 Botox with 100 conch with 23. You guys are nuts. Thank you. Tripod mentioned that he was looking into narwhals. Spoon likes dolphins. I know a lot of people have asked about killer whales for the podcast in the past. It's your lucky day. We get to talk about all of them today, because we're talking with Colleen Weiler from Whale and Dolphin Conservation, or WDC. She is their southern resident orca expert, so we will be talking about orcas. I know a lot of you are interested in that. I'm very excited for that. I also played the North Atlantic right whale video, the second video, because I hope to talk to her about that, because they're doing really important work there. And they're both of great conservation concern. Obviously, if you heard the second video, North Atlantic right whales, their populations are super low. I think they said under 500. It was either 400 or 500. Not okay, either of those numbers. And then southern resident orcas were listed under the Endangered Species Act in 2005. So we'll talk to her about that. Very important conversations. WDC is a very important organization. There are 90 species of whales, dolphins, and porpoises, which I didn't know. That's more than I thought. And they do a lot of work to protect all of them. And their goals are to end captivity, stop whaling, create healthy seas, and prevent deaths in fishing gear. They accomplished all of these goals by they accomplish all of these goals by engaging in policy, public policy. They produce and they commission reports that contribute to the data for conservation of whales, dolphins, porpoises. They do a ton of public education. They do a lot of outreach. Thank you, Servo, with $50. Sheesh. They contribute to research. They're really, really effective on social media. They have a Twitter, they have a YouTube, they have an Instagram, they have a Facebook. You can do command guest if you want to see those socials. They're really, really, really good. Health points. Thank you for the 10. Good. Oh, I'm so glad. Good. So they're an all-encompassing organization that is doing literally everything in the books, everything that I could think of that would aid in conservation of these species, they are doing across the globe. So super, super great organization. I'm really, really excited to be working with them today. Chef, thank you for the 2 months. And Stormy, I do appreciate the $1. Also, donations today are going straight to them. Because we're talking to the organization, we're working with their PayPal, which makes it a lot easier for me. So that's why it's just PayPal donations today, not card donations. I'm sorry if that's inconvenient for you. But that's how that's working today. We're going to talk to Colleen about what those donations support in particular. And we're going to learn a bunch about whales and dolphins and everything. I'm really, really excited. Other things to mention. Cindy just tipped $10. That's something to mention. Cindy, thank you for the 10. People clap. Whale. Yeah, whale. So we're going to call Colleen up, and holy crap, you guys with the donos today. It's Corey. Thank you for the sub. I appreciate that. SMK with 20. I don't know what happened to those alerts. Going whale watching off the coast of Cape Cod next week. Can't wait. That's dope. Good stuff. And Dero with $100. Dude. Big donations today. Okay, that's another. I replayed the alerts because I thought they were going to play. It glitched. SMK tipped 20. Dero tipped 100. It's probably going to play his alert. Alright. Don't worry about that. Other things for the podcast. If you would like to ask questions, please do. You can do #ask and put a question in the chat. It'll be sent to a doc on my end. And I will be able to read those questions out to Colleen so we can all talk about them. Tara with 50. Thank you so much, Tara. What the heck? Serva with another donation. Serva was $77.77. That may be the fastest that we've hit a goal. Guys, it's been 10 minutes. Dubsy, thank you for the 15 months there. Appreciate that. 77777, right? And KZRL with $10 said, I'll keep it going. Whales are neat, people comfy. Thank you so much. $602. Big. Okay. Other things about the podcast. If you haven't been here before, there is a quiz at the end of the podcast based on the conversation that I have with Colleen today, or the conversation that we have with Colleen today, because a lot of it's from your questions. The way the quiz works is it'll show up on your screen when I send it to you. Let's go, Andrew. It's 5 questions, 20 seconds a question. You get Luckaroony with $100. What is going on, dude? What is going on? Diamond, thank you for the 17 months, dude. Diamond, oh my gosh. Okay. Quiz at the end of the podcast. 5 questions, 20 seconds a question. You win the quiz by getting the most answers right the fastest. If you win the quiz, if you are successful in doing that, if you're not a sub to my channel, you will get a gifted sub to my channel. If you are already sub to my channel, then I will gift you a sub to a channel of your choice, or you can ask me to add another $5. Thank you, Nil, for the $5. You can ask me to add another $5 to the donation goal today, so I'll send an additional. to WDC. AX, thank you for the $14.96. Okay, is there anything that I'm missing? Holy cow, dude. This is nuts. Dero, thank you for the sub. And Tipsy. Where is it? Tipsy with $50. Oh, Dero with a tier 3. Thank you. I'm sorry you didn't get that alert. Tipsy with the 50. I love marine life and I hope this helps. Thank you so much. You're donating to the right organization if you love marine life. Adora, thank you for the sub. Okay. $772.17 before we've called Colleen. I think now is a good time to call her and have her tell you guys a little bit about her background and a little bit about the organization that you're donating to. Justin Kraft with $10. Thank you. Alright, are we ready? Am I missing anything? I talked about the quiz, I talked about how you ask questions, I talked about who we're talking to, about the organization. You can do Command Org if you want to be taken to WDC's website so you can get more information on them. Command Guest if you want to be taken to all their socials, so Instagram, Twitter, YouTube are the ones that are in that command. Cool? How long is the podcast going to be? Conversation lasts about an hour. Fail safe. Actually, it's like 50 minutes, but 45 at this point. Are you ready? I'm gonna call her. Alright, I'll be back in like 30 seconds? I don't know. Thank you for the donos, they're ridiculous. Hello?
Hello?
Hi, I can hear you. Could you turn your camera on? Perfect. Okay.
Sorry about that.
No worries. We should be good. Okay, let me do this one more time. Chat, hold on. Pause. Okay. Production value. Yeah, I know. We're set. Okay, we're good. I think we're all set. I think they can see you. Chat. Tell me about her audio, or my audio, or whatever, if it's an issue. But hello, Colleen. Welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm so excited.
Hi. Yeah. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to be here and talk to you about whales.
Good. I did a little bit of an intro. I showed a video on the North Atlantic right whales, and then I showed a video just like summarizing the organization. And in that intro, we've raised $782 and 17 cents, which was super
That's amazing.
Yeah. So if you could introduce yourself and then just tell us about WDC, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you so much, everyone who's donated so far. That's much appreciated. My name is Colleen Weiler. I'm the Jessica Ricos Fellow for Orca Conservation with Whale and Dolphin Conservation in our North American office. So WDC is a global nonprofit. I like to say our name is what we do. We work to improve the lives of whales and dolphins around the world. And our US office in particular focuses on endangered species recovery for North Atlantic right whales, which the video that we saw focuses on them, southern resident orcas, a specific population of orcas or killer whales that's here on the West Coast where I live in Oregon, and then humpback whales as well on both coasts, really. So
cool.
A big focus in the US. And then for the global organization, there's kind of 4 main areas that we work in. stopping whaling, ending captivity for whales and dolphins, creating healthy seas, safe and healthy homes for whales and dolphins, and ending bycatch, or the accidental entanglement of whales and dolphins in fishing gear.
Okay, wonderful. Chat, I don't hear an echo, do you? They're talking, maybe your volume may be a little bit loud on your computer. Maybe you could turn it down a little bit.
And me? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
just like super slightly. Okay, but we should be good. Warbird,
right.
Thank you for the $20. Andrew with the $20. $822 already. So that's going straight to you guys because it's hooked up to your PayPal. So what do you guys need donations for? What is it that you use them for?
Well, we are a nonprofit organization, and most of our funding comes from individual donations. So all of this money coming in today, and then people can also donate through adopting whales and orcas and dolphins with us. That goes to supporting the work that we do and helping to improve regulations and protections for whales and dolphins around the world, and address some of those risks in those 4 categories that I mentioned.
Wait, that's something I forgot to mention to you guys. That was such a nice gesture when we were in communications before. They gave me a gift for having them on the podcast today, and it was an adoption of one of the whales. So you track these whales? Do they have you follow them for data collection and stuff like that?
Yeah, so our adoptable humpbacks and orcas are all individuals, and you chose Salt, who is one of our favorite humpbacks and definitely like the matriarch of the Gulf of Maine population. And different whales have markings that we can use to know them as individuals, so you can track them through time when they come back to certain areas, and when you see them and can identify them on those markings, we know who's who. So we're able to send out updates and tell people like, hey, here's what your adopted whale has been up to. Salt has been seen in the Gulf of Maine, I think just a couple weeks ago, like at the end of July, hanging out and feeding up there. So it's really exciting because we can, trace the history of these whales through their lives and share that information with everybody who follows us or adopts whales with us, and really make that connection between what they're out there doing and how they're living their lives, and what we're doing on land and how we're living our lives.
That's awesome. So you are the expert on southern resident orcas. Is that correct? So I've had quite a few people ask about orcas on the podcast in the past, but we've never really talked about them. How'd you get into orcas, and can you tell us a little bit about them?
Sure. So I'll start with, I guess, how I got into orcas, because it's probably like most millennials around my age, it was Free Willy. Watching it as a kid in the theaters, and just kind of immediately being awestruck and enraptured and in love with these very amazing and incredible beings. And one of the things that really stuck with me from that movie and coming into my career and just being obsessed with whales and dolphins and wanting to work with them forever is the family bonds that they do actually talk about in the movie. And as old as that movie is, it came out in the mid-90s, there's a lot that it did get right about orcas, and especially about the southern residents, who just happened to be the wild population of Willie's family that's featured in the movie. So they were movie stars, and I kind of fell in love with them before I even knew that someday I would end up working with this amazing population. But they have incredible family bonds. So they stay together in these family groups for life. Both male and females stay with their mom for the course of her life. They're super social. They're very vocal. They, have these unique and specific dialects between populations and between family groups. There's just so many, parallels between them and us is really incredible.
That's so neat.
I always get distracted talking about whales and kind of meander off, but that's a little bit of both. And so I started as a policy intern with WDC 7 years ago in 2013, because my background, although I do have a degree in biology and have a science background with whales, I really wanted to get involved in the policy side of things, which is working on these laws and regulations that can either protect populations or help recover endangered populations, and ended up working specifically on orca recovery because of a partnership between WDC and the Jessica Ricos Foundation to honor Jessica Ricos, who was a student at the Sandy Hook Elementary in 2012, who sadly lost her life there. And her parents wanted to honor her memory and her love of orcas. And she fell in love with orcas the same way I did by watching Free Willy, but a couple decades later. And so we set up this fellowship that is dedicated to orca recovery in Jessica's memory, and then getting to work on southern resident orcas, which is kind of this connecting factor between it all, is pretty amazing.
I had no idea that foundation existed. That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Koala a little while ago tipped $200. Potato tipped $5. I got a host from Twitch for 3,000 plus viewers. Thank you so much for that as well. So we've hit our $1,000 goal. So for those of you that are new here, this is the Conservation Cast. I'm talking to Colleen Weiler today. She is from Whale and Dolphin Conservation, and we're raising money for the work that they do to protect whales, dolphins, and porpoises across the globe. They contribute to research, they do public education, and their goals are, let me read them so I get them right, to end captivity, stop whaling, create healthy seas, and prevent deaths in fishing gear for those whales, dolphins, and porpoises. Right now we're talking specifically about southern resident orcas and how they're protecting them. So also, if you have questions, you can do #ask in the chat, and it'll go to a doc for me, and I'll be able to read those questions hopefully at some point during the podcast. And then you can do command guest and command org to get more of their information. Okay, so you guys do work to protect southern resident orcas. I read on your website that they were listed as endangered in 2005. Is that right?
Yeah, they have been unfortunately listed as endangered for 15 years now, and their numbers are actually fewer now than they were when they were added to the endangered species list. So today there's only about 72 remaining in this population.
Oh my God.
And kind of going back a little bit to your question about orcas, I should mention this and talk about why they're such a special population. Orcas, or killer whales, as a species, they're considered one species worldwide, but there are these very distinct and unique communities of orcas. We call them ecotypes that exist, and they are they're different from each other. So they're kind of like different tribes or different cultures almost. They have unique foraging strategies. They eat different things. They have different behaviors. They use their habitats in different ways. So they're all considered one big orca family, but there are these very unique groups within the species of orca that are different from all others, and they don't interact with and actually don't even interbreed with other populations or other ecotypes of orcas. So they're very unique, and the things that make them unique are passed down from older members of the populations to the younger members. So it's something that's learned through their culture and through their different family groups. So the southern residents specifically are one of these very unique populations that they're officially a distinct population segment under the Endangered Species Act, which means that they are genetically distinct from other orcas. They don't interbreed with other ones, and they have these unique cultural differentiations from other groups of orcas that kind of make them this very very distinct and unique population.
What do you mean by cultural differences?
Yeah, part of it is the feeding. So orcas are really picky eaters, and these different communities have different diets. Like, as a species, orcas eat tons of different food. They eat fish, they eat other whales and dolphins, they eat seals and sea lions, sea turtles, sharks, octopuses. They eat lots of stuff. But the different communities have very specialized diets, and they kind of don't go off menu. So the southern residents are fish eaters, and they only eat fish. They don't eat other mammals. They don't eat seals or sea lions or whales or dolphins. They don't eat turtles. They don't eat sharks. They stick to fish, and their favorite is salmon. So that's a huge proportion of their diet. There's another group that lives kind of in the same area as them. They're called transient orcas, and those are the marine mammal eaters. So they specialize on other whales and dolphins and seals and sea lions. And then these different groups have different ways of, they have different dialects. So they kind of speak a different language, essentially. They're all very social, but they do live in these different social groupings. Some of them have those tight-knit family groups like the southern residents. Some of them have kind of bigger party pods, like it might be 50 to 100 orcas that all travel together, and it's kind of unknown how they're all related. So kind of the way they live, what they eat, how they talk, and how they socialize are those cultural traits that are passed down between generations.
That's so interesting.
Green
Apple, thank you for the 20, and Wilshire with 20 as well. Okay, so there have been lots of chat questions that have come through. The first one at the top, because it's about orcas, said, Max asked, do orcas have any known enemies, or are they an apex predator?
Yeah, they don't have any known enemies. It's a pretty, we like to post sometimes on our channels interesting stories about shark versus orca and who comes out on top. And there are a couple instances of seeing orcas kill and eat white sharks, which are kind of quintessential top ocean predators.
Yeah, no kidding.
And so, obviously Team Orca, they I would call them the top predator. Yeah, really, they don't seem to have any natural predators in the ocean, besides impacts from us.
Right.
But I would call them the top apex predator of the sea.
So no natural predators, but because their diets are so specific, what puts them at risk is not enough food, then is pollution a factor as well, and then fishing nets. Do orcas get caught in fishing nets often?
Sometimes, yeah. Lack of food is definitely probably the leading factor for the southern residents, certainly, and for many other populations. Pollutants and contaminants can be a big issue as well because they are apex predators and sit at the top of that food web. Everything that is in the ocean that is a chemical or a pollutant kind of gets carried up that food chain and amplifies at each level. So the unfortunate position of being an apex predator is that you get a really high dose of contaminants and pollutants in your food.
Right.
So for example, the transient orcas that live here are the most contaminated whale and dolphin species in the world. They have really high levels of things like DDT and PCBs and contaminants. How it impacts them, though, has a lot to do with that food situation. Because if they have enough to eat, they can store those contaminants in their blubber, and it may or may not have an impact. That's kind of an unknown question. But if they don't have enough to eat, then they do metabolize those toxics, and that can cause other issues with their immune systems and their reproductive systems, exactly the same way that it does in us and in people. And that's a concern in a lot of areas. There have been a couple entanglement issues with orcas. It really depends on the location and the type of gear being used. The southern residents so far have not had any big entanglement issues. There's been a couple that have gotten some salmon flasher hooks stuck in their mouth, but seems to have come out on their own.
Okay.
And then a couple in the northern resident population, which is a similar group that lives further north here off the West Coast. Has gotten stuck in some nets too, but for the southern residents specifically, we're really worried about food, pollution, and then noise and disturbance.
Okay, so tell us more about the noise and disturbance part.
That's a big problem for really all whales and dolphins, and that comes from how much we use the ocean as people and how that has increased, especially in the last 50 or 60 or 100 years. More shipping, more big boats in the water, making a lot of noise, more construction, which is also very noisy, Navy training and testing, which can create a lot, and then a lot of recreational use of the ocean. So going out in boats can really disturb whales and change their natural behavior. It can disrupt them from, doing the things that whales need to do to survive. It can clear them out of some of their preferred foraging areas. And then for orcas especially, because they're so vocal, and they rely so much on sound to do so many things. They echolocate like all toothed whales and dolphins.
Very cool.
So that means that they send out beams of sound and then listen for the echo coming back to navigate in their worlds. They use that to find food, to travel. And when the water is really noisy, it does interrupt their ability to do that. So they have a harder time finding the limited food that's out there, traveling, and then also communicating with each other.
Okay.
And for a highly social species, you have to be able to talk to each other.
Interesting. So this is a couple things, chat. So we spoke to Lizzie Dowley about that, the noise problem, the acoustic problem, when we were talking about the seals that she was studying, and then with how the pollutants accumulate up towards apex predators. That was the biomagnification that we talked about with Laura. I don't know if you guys remember that. Leonard with 1083, thank you. Floppy with $150 as a donation. Thank you. Crowway with $10 and Ray with $10. So we're at 1.2K or a little more than that. Thank you. So another question about orcas. They got a lot of attention. I guess it's not recently really anymore. It's been a while. But Max asked that you may get this question a lot, but what are your thoughts on the Blackfish documentary, and do you think SeaWorld has changed ever since its release? So in general, just the movement behind getting orcas out of captivity.
Yeah, that's certainly one of our top areas is ending captivity for whales and dolphins. And we have it up on our website, but definitely check out the Sea Life Trust Beluga Sanctuary, which just got up and running in Iceland and welcomed 2 belugas to its waters a couple weeks ago, which is super exciting. And we're very happy and proud to have been a part of that. For Blackfish and for orcas specifically, I think the Blackfish documentary was absolutely incredible. That came out the year that I interned with WDC. So I actually did a lot of work around that documentary and getting it screenings around Plymouth, Massachusetts, which is where our U.S. headquarters is. Mm-hmm. We were really excited to do a screening and a Q&A with the filmmaker, Gabriella Copperthwaite, and get to talk to her about, her inspiration for making the documentary and kind of what she learned and how her perception on captivity changed through the course of that. And then just getting to talk to more people about this really important issue and how whales and dolphins just don't do well in a captive setting. Right. And the reach that documentary was able to have, and the information that it shared, and the way that it kind of just, it created this huge swell, pun intended, of a change in public perception of holding whales and dolphins in captivity.
Yeah, absolutely.
It got a lot of attention, and people kind of opened their eyes to the negative side of those things. And it's definitely resulted in some positive changes. SeaWorld's committed to no longer holding orcas in captivity. They have said that this cohort that they currently have is going to be the last ones. They're not breeding them anymore. So once the ones that they have are gone, they're not going to have any more. Unfortunately, that's specific to orcas. It doesn't apply to the other species they hold, like dolphins and belugas, who, all similarly don't do well in a concrete tank.
Right.
They've also committed to not doing kind of the circus act shows anymore and trying to make them more educational. Opinions may vary on that one and whether they actually met that goal. I think that they're still kind of more entertainment based than education based for their shows, but we have seen progress, which is really exciting after, years of kind of being stuck in that field. Yeah. Blackfish definitely kind of pushed the whole movement forward.
Progress higher up and progress just like for the general public too. I think the general consensus, or at least in my experience within the past few years of orcas in captivity, has been that's a no-no. A lot of people aren't big on SeaWorld lately. Warren, thank you for the $10. Street with 20. Thank you so much. There was a question and it was like a really good segue and I forgot what it was. Dang it. I lost it. Okay. That's what I was going to say. It wasn't a question. There is a really good video on their YouTube channel that goes a little bit more into depth about orcas in captivity and you can get there by doing command guess if you'd like to find it. You can probably just search like orca in the YouTube channel, you'll find it. It was really good. Okay, so let's see. Lots of questions about orcas. Can we talk about, I don't see questions about it right now, but can we talk about the North Atlantic right whales and what you guys are doing there?
Yeah, absolutely. Our other favorite species. Right whales are kind of, I always like to point out the parallels between them, even though they're two very different species and face very different threats.
Mm-hmm.
The parallels between the southern residents on the west coast here and the North Atlantic right whales, which are off the US and Canada east coast, are kind of that we know what the threats are. We know, what we're doing to put them at risk, and we know what we need to do to change the situation for them. The work is just getting those changes in place. So
Okay.
for right whales specifically, they are at risk from accidental entanglements in fishing gear, mostly what we call fixed gear, which is when you go out and you drop a pot or something to the bottom of the ocean and it's connected to a buoy at the surface by a line in the water, and you let that sit for a while, and hopefully your pot fills up with lobsters on the East Coast or crabs over here on the West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
And then you come back and you collect it and get your harvest and good to go. But unfortunately, that vertical line in the water is what creates danger for whales swimming through, because they can get wrapped up in that line.
Yeah, I see.
And that can cause a lot of problems for them. Both some whales can become anchored and die immediately. Some whales, it just, it's like getting tangled in a cobweb, except it's a cobweb that doesn't break. So it just gets all wrapped around them in these really complex ways and can cause some really horrific injuries. And sometimes just carrying that gear around, like, if you had a giant cinder block tied to your ankle at all times, it would be a huge energy drain on you. And so it just really causes a lot of stress and can burn energy and just make them less healthy. And then the other big threat for right whales is ship strikes. They are very urban. They spend a lot of time in coastal waters. They spend a lot of time just below the surface of the water where they're not super visible. And so they are very highly likely to be hit by boats. And that, similar to the entanglements, can either result in a pretty fast death, or it can cause a pretty horrific injury that can wear away at them over time. So,
Jeez.
Yeah, big human impacts with the right whales, unfortunately. And again, the parallels between the two species, like climate change, is a big driver of threats for both of them. For right whales, it means that they are moving into different habitats that they have not used a lot before because their food is shifting due to warming waters.
Mm-hmm.
For the orcas, climate change is really impacting salmon, which is already at levels that are too low to support this population. And warmer waters and warmer temperatures can be more, can increase the threats to salmon. So climate change is kind of the big dark umbrella over everything.
Okay. I lost my train of thought because of something in chat. Okay. So what about hunting? So SMK said, what's the whale hunting situation like right now?
Well, in right whales certainly were heavily impacted by whaling a long time ago, and that is kind of what dropped their numbers down to a really low level that they're still struggling to come back from. They are no longer hunted. There is a moratorium on hunting, technically worldwide,
right,
with the International Whaling Commission, but there are some groups that are not members and so do still actively hunt whales. And that is, one of our main goals as an organization is to stop that practice and, hopefully get people to enjoy watching whales instead of killing them.
Right.
And it's, again, unfortunately, it's an ongoing practice. The good news is that last year, I think it was 2019, Iceland actually didn't kill any. And then this year, kind of the silver lining maybe of this global pandemic crisis we're all struggling with right now, is that a lot of whaling ships are not going out. So
okay. That's
yeah,
good.
a bit of a positive.
Cool. And then a follow-up question to that, kind of maybe a tough question. Bernie had asked, what is your opinion on indigenous populations hunting whales?
We do have a detailed response to that on our website, so I definitely encourage you to go check it out there. The short answer is that it is complicated. We certainly want to be respectful of Aboriginal whaling and their rights and their cultures and practices, but it's a complicated topic, and there are some places that claim Aboriginal whaling, and it's maybe doing it a little bit differently than they have done in history. It's complicated. It's tough. It's one I think we're still grappling with because we do want to be respectful of people's cultures and their history. Right. But we also want to protect whales and make sure that populations that are at risk don't have any additional impacts or additional stressors coming from people.
Okay. Good. So if you guys want more information about that, then you can do Command.org for their website. Okay, a little bit of a different direction here. I know we're all over the place. We're talking about all of them. I also didn't realize that there were 90 species. That's more than I thought of whales, dolphins, porpoises. So many potential questions for the quiz today. Yes, you're correct. So one of the questions, Riz asked, how similar are river dolphins and regular saltwater dolphins or whatever they're called?
That is one I don't know if I can answer. Again, I'm an orca expert.
Right.
And
that's fun.
So orcas are the largest member of the dolphin family. I can answer all the questions about those dolphins. I don't know a lot about river dolphins. I know that a lot of them are highly endangered as well because they interact a lot with humans and human use of those river systems.
Right.
They rely really heavily on echolocation and sound because many of the rivers that river dolphins are adapted to are really silty and have a lot of sediment. So the visibility in those rivers is really, really low. And so they really have to rely on that echolocation and that hearing to exist in those environments. And there's a lot of threats facing those populations, which is very disappointing and something our UK office is working on. Here in the US, we focus on our orcas and right whales and humpbacks, but it is something that we're addressing as an organization. And again, just encourage you to check out our website for more details.
Yeah, so that sound pollution is an issue for the dolphins too then, as well. So Danny had asked, what are current solutions being made to help reduce or prevent ocean noise pollution?
Yeah, solutions and issues for ocean noise. So for right whales, we actually just submitted a petition to National Marine Fisheries Service, which is the agency here in the U.S. that is in charge of protection and management of marine mammal species here, to increase the speed zones for right whales. And that is specific areas that we know are high use for right whales that overlap with a lot of boat traffic as well, and essentially putting in speed limits for vessels. And that both helps slower boats are less likely to cause a really bad injury if they do strike a whale, and slower boats are quieter. So that impacts the orcas as well. And the Port of Vancouver has been doing a really cool program the last, I think, 4 or 5 years to slow down these big container and cargo ships that are coming in and out of Vancouver, Canada, to reduce the noise that's created by these big boats. So there are definitely, kind of these short-term measures that can be done now, which is speed zones, just like speed limits on roads. And then there's longer-term measures too, like better technology for quiet boats and hybrid engines and things that make them less noisy, which can reduce overall ocean noise. For things like construction, it's kind of the same. There's different techniques that can be used now, like putting bubble nets, which is just what it sounds like. It's like using air to create a curtain, essentially, of bubble around a construction site that can help deafen and dampen the noise coming out. And then longer term technological improvements that can help just make our activities out in the water quieter and less impactful on whales and dolphins and porpoises.
That's super interesting. I didn't know about the bubble net thing. That's cool. Kuba, thank you for the $150. So we're at $1,448.51 today for WDC. Thank you so much, you guys. The donations are huge today.
So incredible.
We talked about reducing boat speeds as well when we talked to Save the Manatee, if you guys remember that. They're a major issue for those waterways as well. Sour, thank you for the $30. I appreciate that. Okay, let's see. Okay, so we have a couple other questions. I mean, there are a lot of other questions. If I don't get to your question, I'm sorry, you guys. I never get to all of them. But thank you for answering all of these just like back to back. I appreciate it.
I mean, again, I love talking about whales anytime. Sorry, I can't talk more about river dolphins. They're not my...
No, that's okay. That's okay.
I also find them fascinating. I think they're really cool. I wish I knew more about them, but maybe someday.
Yeah. Okay, so here's an orca question. Ovi the Great said, are orcas as dangerous as they're portrayed in pop culture? So I guess he's asking about human conflict then.
Yeah, good question. I would say definitely not. Again, going back to orcas are very social and very, I think, curious about us. And thinking about those dietary specializations, we are not on the menu for any orca ecotype or any type of orca. So there has never been a recorded instance of orcas going after a person in the wild. There's been one close call that was probably, a mistaken identity. Thought a surfer was a seal, and an orca kind of scraped their leg a little bit, but didn't leave him with anything more than some bruising. But there's never been an attack in the wilds from an orca on a human. Counter to that, there's these just hundreds and hundreds of incredible stories from researchers, from people who've just interacted with orcas about how curious they are on people and how they seem to watch people, about them, pods of orcas rescuing dogs that have fallen into the water, rescuing researchers who have been trapped behind fog banks and can't navigate and find their way home. I think the reality is a lot different than the pop culture side of things.
How does that rescuing occur? I'm trying to picture like how that works.
So there's two stories from two of the most amazing orca researchers in the world. Ken Balcom at the Center for Whale Research, who has been watching the southern residents and keeping tabs on them for over 40 years at this point. And then Alexandra Morton, who is one of the original, kind of got her start like as orca research in the Pacific Northwest was starting in the 1970s and 80s. Mm-hmm. And they both have stories of being out on boats and getting kind of stuck behind a fog bank where they can't see anything around them. They can't see the islands for landmarks. They don't know where they are. Mm-hmm. And the orcas come up right beside their boat and kind of lead them in the right direction. Mm-hmm. And in both of those stories, it's two completely different orca populations too. They just followed the whales until the fog cleared, and then they were very close to home when the fog cleared.
Wow.
And then the orcas left.
That's very interesting.
Kind of gives you the chills and is amazing to think about.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bernie with a $50 donation, $51.49 to even it out. Thank you. Really weird question, but he's asked it a few times and other people want to know, and I don't know if you're going to be able to answer it because it's not a thing. But this question is, could you realistically describe what it would be like to be swallowed by a large whale? I think he's thinking like a humpback whale, which would never happen. So I don't know how you can answer that question.
Thought exercise. I think it would smell really fishy.
Okay.
So realistically, physically, that's actually impossible for it to happen. Large whales, the big baleen whales, humpbacks, right whales, blue whales, they are all actually filter feeders. Mm-hmm. They are known as baleen whales because in their mouths, instead of teeth, they have plates of baleen, which is a substance made from keratin, the same thing as our hair and our fingernails.
How cool.
And basically acts like a big spaghetti strainer. So all of the really big whales eat really tiny little things. So their throats are actually pretty small. They're only about like the size of a grapefruit. So a human would not be able to fit down a whale's throat. So
there you go, Bernie.
Follow us.
Now you know. Okay, thank you.
I would just think of like Magic School Bus, and if we could shrink down to like krill size and go down through, I think it would just be interesting to see. You know, the inside of a whale looks a lot like us. They're mammals. They have all the same body parts, but just, you know, a lot bigger.
Lucas, thank you for the $5. Lucas tipped with a question, said, are whales improving significantly since the efforts to protect them?
Well, Lucas, that depends on the population. So, you know, the ones that we work on in the US, despite protections, are unfortunately not improving. Southern residents, as I mentioned, have declined since their endangered species listing. North Atlantic right whales, especially in the last 10 years, are really declining as well. There's only about 400 of them left. Other whale populations seem to be doing really well. So it definitely depends on each population and where they live in the world and what kind of threats they are facing, as well as the protective measures that are in place. For these specific groups that we work on, you know, they would probably be doing a lot worse if there weren't laws and regulations in place to keep them safe. Other populations that share their same habitat are doing pretty well. So it is kind of a unique situation with orcas and with right whales.
Okay. Thank you for the question, Lucas, and for the donation. Okay, so I think we have time for like a couple more questions here. There have been a few about the social behaviors of orcas. Dr. Dobby asked, can you ask her to share with chat some of the cool hunting strategies that orcas have, especially how they vary among different groups?
Oh my gosh, yes. So for the southern resident orcas, again, they're salmon eaters, so they specialize on salmon and one species in particular, Chinook salmon here in the Pacific Northwest. And they really like to hunt or to forage in kind of these areas where the water goes from really deep to really shallow very quickly. So like on the west side of San Juan Island, which is a fantastic place for some land-based whale watching. You can just sit on the side and hang out. The salmon come really, really close to the shore there because it's really deep, and then the island kind of comes up really quickly. So it's just a great area to kind of trap them against that essentially wall of an island and forage on some salmon. It's like a corridor for salmon, so it's a good way for the whales to get them. The northern resident population, which is again just a very similar group but lives further north in the Pacific. I have heard anecdotal stories of them chasing salmon into like cracks in the rocks or island walls or whatever's around, and then kind of flushing them out, of like trapping them in the cracks and then kind of flushing them out and into their waiting mouths. There's a group in the North Atlantic that has this fantastic technique called carousel feeding. So orcas will work together and kind of ball up herring all together, and just what it sounds like. The orcas kind of swim around in a circle and get the herring to all kind of panic and cluster together. And then the orcas will come in and slap at the ball with their tails and stun the herring. And then they just kind of like pick off the ones that are at the edge and got knocked out by the pressure wave from their tail.
Wow.
The mammal hunting orcas have all kinds of amazing feeding strategies too. There's ones that will beach themselves. They'll actually ride a wave onto shore to pick off sea lion pups down in Patagonia, and then time it to go back out when the next wave comes in. And again, that goes back to their culture and their feeding strategies, because it's one very specific population that does that. It's just a couple of family groups in that population, and you can see the moms teaching their calves how to do this very difficult and very dangerous hunting technique. Because if they get stranded on shore, it's very bad for them. But they'll teach the calves how to ride the waves in and out and get this favorite prey.
That's one of the things Dobbins mentioned. He said there's a video of an orca family teaching their young how to knock a seal off ice sheets, which is different, but that concept of
I mean, we can talk. That's Antarctica too, and we can go into that as well, like the wave washing and ice flows and all kinds of interesting techniques.
Sure. Yeah. What else are there? They knock. He said knock a seal off ice sheets. What other techniques do they have?
Yeah. So then there's another group of Antarctic orcas that is a specific ecotype, and they're pros of the wave washing. So that YouTube video that was mentioned, they'll work together and swim in unison to create a wave that will wash over an ice flow and knock a seal off. If the wave technique doesn't work, they can come up from underneath and kind of tip the ice sheet or try to break it up so that the seal doesn't have a place to hide. I mean, and that's seeing some of those is pretty incredible on YouTube, and the videos that have been taken. Awesome.
Yeah, I have a video up right now here, chat. This is what she's talking about with the wave washing. Yeesh. Okay, very cool. All right, so we are kind of coming to a close here with the amount of time that we have. But one last question. It's actually the last one that I see in my doc, but it's a good one. LP asked, what would Colleen's biggest advice to all of us be to better protect whales and other sea animals?
Oh, such a good question and a good one to end on. So we always like to say at WDC that it takes a village to save a species. And it's a combination of, individual actions that we can take to do things like fighting climate change, switching to reusable bags and containers, reducing your electricity consumption, shopping locally and mindfully, kind of all those little things that we can do in our daily lives to help make the planet a better and a safer one. And then there's the big one with the policy changes, which is reaching out to your elected officials, the ones who are setting policy and who are giving money towards recovery efforts. Specifically, there's the Save the Right Whales Act in Congress right now, which would dedicate funding to specifically reducing those risks that North Atlantic right whales face and improving the technology for things like fishing without that vertical line, and getting a better understanding of how climate change is impacting right whales, and asking them to support that bill, the Save the Right Whales Act. So again, it's a combination of there's things that you can do in your daily life to help the health of the oceans and to fight climate change, which impacts whales and dolphins. And there's making sure that you are supporting the policies that are needed to help protect these species. So you can make changes yourself, but you also have to bug those elected officials to do the right thing.
Yeah. You guys have petitions on your website as well. Is that correct?
We do. We have, we try to make it, since it's our job to kind of be the connector between the audience, all of you guys who are watching and concerned and want to do something to help, but maybe don't know exactly what that is. So, it's our job to be the bridge between what whales and dolphins need and how you guys can participate. So we have a link where you can email your senator and representative about the Save the Right Whales Act. Just today, we launched kind of the second phase of our campaign for southern resident orcas and addressing salmon in the Columbia River Basin out here in the Pacific Northwest. And that asks for breaching the 4 lower Snake River dams. And again, asking your elected officials to support efforts to get them more food, so to get more salmon in the ocean for them. Mm-hmm. And all of that is on our website and on our social media channels. Yeah. For the US, it's all whales_.org, or Facebook is US Whales.org.
Nice.
And yeah, we have lots of actions and opportunities to get involved and to speak up for whales and dolphins.
Yeah, your website is very, very thorough. If you guys want to find any of that information, or you want to find something you can do, if you don't have money, there are petitions to sign, there's things to read. There are also the adoptions that are really cool on their website. Botox tipped another $100 today. Botox, thank you for the donations today. And then Josh with $5. So thank you so much. Dobbin said, what if I go get salmon from the store and throw it back into the ocean? That's it for the questions today. So Colleen, thank you so much for your time and all this information. That was awesome. Floppy took $59.
Again, I'm always happy to talk about whales. It's one of my favorite topics.
I can tell. That's wonderful. We love guests like that. Floppy, thank you for the $59.88. You guys, thank you for asking your questions as well. If I didn't get to all of them, I'm sorry. But again, a lot of them can be answered from this website. It's like very, very thorough. So you can do command org to get to their website, do command guest to get to all their socials. That's another thing you can do is follow their socials because they post a lot of really good stuff on there, and their YouTube channel really is something to check out if you're interested in learning more. So, all right, I think that's it for today. Thank you again for your time and for answering all those questions. I know it was a lot of questions.
Thank you. This is absolutely amazing, and again, it's super fun to just chat about whales and hear everybody's questions.
Yeah.
I love doing it. Thank you for having us.
Of course.
Thanks for
helping
fundraise. It's so much appreciated.
Yeah.
And absolutely incredible.
And I say it, I at this point say it every podcast, but if you're not able to, thank you to those of you who did donate $3, Alaskan, thank you. So we're at $1,707. If you don't have the means to donate, that's completely fine. There have been, about 1.8K people watching this whole time. So if you're here watching the podcast itself, that means a lot too, and you're making a difference in learning. So thank you for being here. It makes a difference. Okay, well, Colleen, I will send you I'll send you guys some analytics for this podcast after, so you guys can check out a little bit more of the reach. But I think that's it for today. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, I'll talk to you soon. All right, chat. All right. Oh, Alaskan, you asked a question. I'm sorry. You said, has she heard of the possible passing of Pebble Mine in Alaska? It will destroy the last great salmon run. I haven't heard of that. I'm not sure about that. Okay. Thank you so much, for those donations. You guys are nuts. The donos today were nuts. Like, I don't understand. Thank you. That was awesome. She gave us so much good information. We learned a bunch about orcas. I know we mostly talked about orcas. I hope that wasn't disappointing to you guys. We got a little bit in about whales and dolphins as well, but she's definitely like the orca girl. So, but I was thrilled to learn about that stuff. That was really, really great, and a lot of information. I hope that was okay to follow. I know that some of the podcasts are more conversation. Some of them is I'm talking less. And I hope that that's okay with you guys, but it was a lot of really, really good information, so I'm super happy with it. We're gonna do a quiz. Are you ready? Are you ready to do a quiz? Here's how the quiz works. It was great. I think so too. It was really cool. 5 questions. The questions are written thanks to Chuck. Thank you, Chuck, for helping. It helps me a lot. 5 questions, 20 seconds a question. You win the quiz by getting the most answers right the fastest, so it is like it's a time thing. If you win the quiz, if you're not already a sub to my channel, I'll gift you a sub. And if you are a sub, then you can either ask me to add an additional $5 to this donation goal, or I will gift you a sub to a channel of your choice. Okay? Chuck's not giving out answers, so don't ask Chuck for answers. Also, question, what was that raid earlier? I'm so confused. Because then it said Twitch, but then Jake was there. Was that Jake? Did it glitch? Jake was doing a show. Jake was on Twitch's channel. Oh. Cool. Alright, I was very confused by that. Okay. Cool, we got a host from Twitch today. Good stuff. That was very nice of Jake. He's a good guy. Okay, are you ready for a quiz? Here we go. To participate in the quiz, you need to click Enable Access, or Grant Access on PC. If you don't do that, I won't know your name, and so you won't be able to win the quiz. Is there still staff here, really? Viz linked it in chat, so you know. Yes, hi staff. Thanks. So yeah, enable access. I will be back in a minute after I get the quiz all set up. And hold tight. Okay, here we go. Whoops. All right, here we go. Quiz is ready to go, but are you ready? Agna, thank you for the 5 months. Thank you for the subs today, by the way. I know I don't read them out loud because I don't want to interrupt the guests, but I do see them and I do appreciate them. Start quiz, here we go. Enable access, please. Max linked the image. Selecting the quiz. Start quiz. Here we go. Manny already said he failed, but he hasn't even started. That's the spirit. The rules are being sent to you guys right now. The quiz is starting. Question 1. What is the only group of prey that southern resident orcas eat? Do they only eat whales, seals, fish, or sharks? The correct answer is fish. Bonus question. What kind? Does anyone remember? Oh, Tipsy already got it. Squid got it. Everybody got it. Alright, good stuff. Good stuff. The correct answer is fish. 175 people got that correct. Seal got that correct. Seals is a good guess. There are other orcas that eat seals, but not the southern resident orcas. But good guesses. Next question. Oh wait, who got it right the fastest? Marstan. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Spoon's in second, Davies in third. Next question. Which is not a goal of whale and dolphin conservation? Is it stopping whaling? Is it creating healthy oceans? Is it putting on whale shows for entertainment? Or is it stopping bycatch? Sorry, I wasn't laughing at most of you. I was laughing at one of you. The correct answer is putting on whale shows. The correct answer is putting on whale shows. Oh no, the classy alien misclicked. That's unfortunate. But who got the answer right? Oh, 288 people got that correct. You're right. WDC does not have a goal of putting on whale shows. Because one of their 4 major goals is ending captivity of whales, dolphins, porpoises. Who is in the lead? Who got that question right? Contestant 1489, doesn't matter. Don't know who you are. Who's in the lead though? Squid. How? Squid. Can we ban him? He's actually cheating. He's actually cheating. He's cheating. B-Bud's in second, Bernie's in third. Next question, third question, here we go. According to Colleen, what is the population of southern orcas in WDC's recorded areas? Are there 5,000 of them, 60,000 of them, 72 of them, or 250? Danny's upset. Oh no. I don't know. That's okay. It's kind of a tough question. It's a tough question. King thinks this is easy. The correct answer is 72. 138 people got that correct. That was tough. That was tough. Danny feels gypped. He's upset. That's actually sad. It is, isn't it? Who got that right the fastest? Contestant number 1192, doesn't matter. Squid is still somehow in the lead. He said, just kidding, loser. Oh my gosh, ridiculous. Ridiculous. Next question. Second to last question, here we go. What predators are a threat to orcas? Great white sharks. Really big dolphins. There are no known predators, or hammerhead sharks. Amber alert. Everybody say hi to Erica. Thanks for the 50. Big. What's up? Reveal answer. The correct answer is that there are no known predators, that they're an apex predator. Good stuff. 271 correct answer. Correct answers. Wait, Erica, are you all watching? I didn't think about that until now. Who got that answer right the fastest? Aki. Okay. But who's in the lead? Squid. Can somebody please pull ahead of Squid? Please. He can't keep getting away with it. Last question. Can somebody do it? Which is not a reason for the declining population of North Atlantic right whales? Is it boat collisions? Is it the coronavirus? Is it climate change? Or is it getting anchored and entangled by traps? Neon somehow got that wrong, and so did Wang. That's tough. Squid said he'll take one gifted sub to E-Money. But did he actually win? The correct answer is the coronavirus is not a reason for the declining populations of the North Atlantic right whales. Actually, the coronavirus has been good for whales because less boats have been going out because of it. Final results. Squid. Alright. Squid! Did it. And he wants a gifted sub to E-Rob. Alright. He asked for it before... I literally searched E-Money. He asked for it... He asked for the sub before the question was...
Just trying to see how big
before
the
the
map
quiz
is.
was over. Shroud. Alright. Hang on. Gift to a specific viewer. I swear if someone beats me to this. Spinning squid. Alright, here we go. Squid! You've been gifted. Good stuff. Alright. 1,000. That was a good quiz. Thank you, Chuck, for those questions. Those are good questions. $1,757.99 today. Straight to whale and dolphin conservation. It's already there. It's already with them. Again, super, super happy to get connected with this organization and to talk with them. They do, like I said at the beginning, they do all-encompassing work. Everything that I can think of that would assist in the conservation of whales, dolphins, porpoises, of all of them, they're doing it. So I'm really, really happy that we got to talk to them about that today, and that we got to learn so much cool stuff about orcas and whales. I will show you let me show you one more time. Let's see if I can... Salt. I want to show you pictures of Salt. Salt, the humpback whale. Ignore that. Check this out! Salt! Wait, there's a book? Humpback whale named Salt. So cool! Such a cool thing to do. Yeah, I really appreciate that. I appreciate talking to them. Let's see who we're hosting today. American Eagle Foundation. Is this live cams? Yeah, live cams. I guess I could host Jake. Yeah, cause what's he doing?
Meat incident. Oh my god, the meat, dude. I know this shit.
Reacting.
Oh my god.
Love it.
This is like when the
Cinny, thank you for evening it out. No, before I type in the raid, I always forget. Almost forget, but not this time. The outro has been shortened a little bit, but here is the outro for you guys. Thank you for today. I love it. I love these podcasts so much. I learned so much, and you guys learned so much, and it's such a cool setup. I'm just so pleased. It's their first time doing anything on Twitch, so thank you for being kind to them, and thank you for always asking such insightful, important questions. $1,760 today. Twitch is an untapped reservoir for doing good. It really is. And I said it at the test call today for our audio video check. I was like, there's not a ton of conservation going on Twitch, but it's a fantastic place for it. And it's a fantastic place for it because you guys are here every week. So thank you for watching. I really appreciate it a lot. All right, here we go. I'll see you tomorrow. Desktop stream tomorrow. I'm gonna do either 1 or 2, probably not 3, but I could do 3 bounties, and then I think that we have the podcast tomorrow as well. Our Twitch Housewives podcast, but I don't know what time, so I'll let you know. I'll see you tomorrow for that. I don't think I'll do 3. I think I'll do 2. Maybe. Maybe I'll just do 1. I don't know. But there are 3. I'll see you tomorrow. Working in exotics, 4 years ago or something like that? working at zoos and getting internships and stuff like that. Then I fell in love with birds of prey at one of the zoos that I interned at.
One of the most popular streamers right now.
This is Jupiter. He's a barn owl.
That is insane!
Oh, 1.3K.
Thank you
Thank
guys
you.
for donating. Thank you for
I'm literally tearing up. Oh, because, alright, this is not supposed to happen!
Twitch is an untapped reservoir for doing good. Monkaroo, what the heck? Thank you.
I will send you this cute thank you card. It has some names of some donators and some viewers on it.
That's awesome.
And I'll tweet this out to
We're
you.
super excited. 22, that's awesome.
Those of you who donate, thank you so much. It means the world to me, and it means the world to those guests. It's still really important that you're here and that you're watching, and that's amazing also. Max, thank you for making that shorter. That's like a perfect amount of time. Bye guys, I'll see you tomorrow. I started working in a